Hello, everyone. Welcome to Miss Valley Entertainment News. My name is Dread. Today, we're going to do a reaction to a video by Luke Stevens. Will be linked down below, called Redfall is Officially Dead.
Yesterday, I recorded a whole video on Redfall and how it was ridiculous. We haven't heard anything. It just had its 1-year anniversary. There hasn't been a lick of DLC. They've barely gotten the game running better. And I wanted to point out how it was just ridiculous. The people who may have bought the $100 Bite Back Edition have not heard anything. They don't even know if they're still getting the 2 additional playable characters that they already paid for. So I made this whole video, we filmed it, we cut a bunch of it together. This is the raw recording you can see here as we skip around. There's all sorts of stuff, looking at their social media posts and all that. Sorry, my cats are joining me for the video today.
Awesome.
So you might see them puttering about. They're a little disruptive. But one of the points of the video was to look at some statements by Pete Hines, who was the former head of marketing, senior vice president of marketing and publishing over at Bethesda Softworks before he retired back in October, November. But in this article that he did with IGN, a little interview, he described how they weren't going to abandon Redfall. They were still working on it. Bethesda's not the type to walk away from projects and dump them just because they started rough. He's like, Game Pass is for...
Hey, do you hear that? Bethesda is not the type of company to do that. Hey, people, for all you people who say Redfall is not Bethesda, you're fucking wrong. You've been wrong the whole fucking time. Wake up. I hate when people say that because they're so utterly fucking wrong. It's ridiculous. Yes, Redfall is a Bethesda property.
Forever, which I thought was particularly funny, especially now after today's news, because he says, we're going to get it to be a good game because we know as a first-party studio, Game Pass lives forever. There will be people 10 years from now who are going to join Game Pass and Redfall will be there.
Wow.
Props to him, right? Not abandoning a game, not doing anything drastic. And they also confirmed for everybody, as in this article right here, that was published and distributed a year ago in June of 2023. They said Microsoft is not planning to shut down the Redfall studio, Arcane Austin. Great. Let them fix it.
Oh,
what's that?
Getting something?
Oh,
what?
None of that's true anymore. That's all wrong. They just closed them. I woke up, rolled over, checked my phone, and I had a bunch of texts from my editors and stuff telling me that this was just announced. And I was like, what? Really? I dug into it, and sure enough, Xbox is shutting down Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and 2 other Bethesda Softworks studios, but Alpha Dog specifically and Roundhouse Games. You can see the news broke at 7:17 a.m. this morning, and it was simply a post by IGN where they collected information from an email that was sent out by Matt Booty, who is the head of Xbox Studios, and he announced that they were shutting these guys down. Arcane Austin perhaps doesn't shock anybody that much because, of course, Redfall has been an unmitigated disaster. In the video I filmed yesterday, they were struggling to get 45 players concurrent globally on Steam. And granted, it's a Game Pass title, but that's still pretty dang rough. Hey, I'm trying to film a video. Can I... maybe we scooch just a bit, maybe.
Oh, God.
Go be like Hermione. She's in the background. She's cooperating. Well, what also took me by surprise is that they're also dumping Tango Gameworks, the guys behind The Evil Within, and of course Hi-Fi Rush, which was a very well-received shadow drop to Game Pass just early last year out of nowhere. Furthermore, Alpha Dog Games, maker of the mobile game Mighty Doom, I personally have never heard of that, will also close. Roundhouse Studios will be...
Okay, the cat being in front of him all the time is just cracking me up, man. It's great. Oh my God, it's so good.
Be absorbed by the Elder Scrolls Online developers ZeniMax Online Studios, and this is part of a broader restructuring. They announced earlier this year that they were going to lay off about 1,900 people in the gaming division. And they started out with a few waves that hit Activision and some other places. But now the next wave is hitting some other companies. And
we're not Bethesda.
It's an
suck.
Unfortunate reality of the current industry. I'm kind of at a loss for words. Because I think we all were kind of braced maybe for this to happen to a company like Arcane or a studio like Arcane after a really disastrous launch, but they said time and time again last year, all last year that this was not going to happen, and they've just walked it back. But now it makes a lot more sense why there have been no plans revealed for DLC. There's been no looks at any sort of marketing campaigns or anything. Like, we just have heard nothing from them other than like a 60 FPS update that made the game better, but certainly didn't fix it. But you can see in this X post from Arcane, it says sign up here to receive details on how eligible players can receive this credit. And this credit is specifically in regard to this post. Today, it was announced that Arcane Austin will close and development will not continue on Redfall. To everyone that has supported the work from our Austin studio over the years, thank you. Thank you for spending time in our worlds and making them your own. Arcane Leon will continue their focus on immersive experiences where they are hard at work on their upcoming project, which is that Blade game. Redfall players who purchase the Hero Pass as part of the Premium Biteback Edition or the Premium Biteback upgrade will be eligible to receive the value of the upgrade. While there are no further updates, Redfall servers will remain online for players to enjoy. I'm not sure the value of the upgrade. Does that refer to
what you paid?
Like store credit? Does that mean that they're going to give you DLC or something else? But you can see this seems to have taken them a bit by surprise, because even they are saying this article will be updated because they haven't actually taken the steps to fully realize this program to get your money back or to get some sort of refund. And to be clear, this is not the first time that this type of thing has happened. Ubisoft actually, in years past, back in 2014, they canceled the season pass for Assassin's Creed Unity, and in exchange for that, they didn't refund players, but they gave them the Dead Kings DLC for free. So if you wanted that, you could get that. And then they also gave them the ability to redeem a copy of The Crew, Far Cry 4, Watch Dogs, AC Black Flag, Rayman Legends, or Just Dance 2015 at no charge. So they tried to give you the value of the season pass, but it wasn't like they just gave you a refund. And this to me sounds weird that this is allowed. Like, you buy something and then when they don't deliver that something, they just give you something else you didn't want to make it even. I'm surprised that works and is allowed. I would think they should just give you back your money and just issue a refund. Yep. But I'm sure in their terms of service or something, there's like a little statement that says, oh, and if we can't deliver DLC, we reserve the right to give you something of roughly equal value, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sure they're covered legally. I just
have
think
a pair of old
it
shoes.
Sucks. If I were somebody that bought the Biteback Edition, which thankfully I didn't, I would be upset. I would just want my money back, but I guess beggars can't be choosers in this instance. I mean, the studio's going under, so I guess getting something is something.
Is
oh my gosh, look at him. Look at him. He's standing on his back paws. He's doing the little, what are you looking at? Anyway, but I guess it's not all that surprising that this is happening, specifically when you look at some of the reporting that happened shortly after Redfall's launch. In this article by Jason Schreier back in June of 23, so just like a month after the game dropped, he reported on kind of the inner workings of the studio, what happened when they were putting it together and all of that. And there's some really interesting tidbits in here, specifically with like misdirection. A bunch of the game's directors didn't really know what they were making. So when people would ask them, what are we doing? They would just randomly say like, well, like we're doing Far Cry, but also like, think of some other games like Borderlands. Think of that. That's a good one. And nobody really knew what they were making. And as a result, a lot of people didn't really like what they were making. And one of the interesting things about this also is Redfall wasn't announced for years while it was being developed. And so people would apply for jobs at Arcane Austin thinking that they were going to get to work on like Prey, or they were going to get to work on Dishonored or something like that. And so they would apply, but nobody in the interviews could tell them what they were going to be making until they got the job and signed all the NDAs and all that stuff. So people would take the job all excited they were going to get to make their dream type of game, and then show up to work on the first day and find out that they're making a co-op looter shooter live service game. And a lot of people didn't like it and didn't last very long. They had crazy high turnover as a result. And you can see here, morale at Arcane suffered. Veteran workers who weren't interested in developing a multiplayer game left in droves. By the end of Redfall's development, roughly 70% of Austin staff who had worked on Prey would no longer be at the company, according to people familiar, as well as a Bloomberg analysis of LinkedIn and Prey's credits, which is wild. And
That's
any industry
amazing.
you work in, if 70% of your team leaves during the course of one project, something went horribly wrong.
I was going to say that just proves how incredibly effed up this whole thing was. Sounds like a really big hot mess of people not having any effing idea what they were doing, right from the top on down. Associated with Bethesda.
And I think that what most likely happened is that Microsoft looked at Arcane Austin and just said, listen, this team put out Redfall. It was a huge embarrassment for us. And now, like, the people that are there is probably a skeleton crew, because any other veterans that were still there after Redfall's launch,
gone.
I would imagine, have also moved on.
Yep.
And so I think they probably looked at it and were just like...
Any self-respecting developer, designer would have been like, see ya. Like, come on. Really? Yeah.
There's no way this team gets back on their feet quickly. Let's just shut it down, save the millions, and throw the millions of dollars at some other studio we think can make us more money, or put out a product that's not going to be
says bye-bye.
Rated at like a 54 on Metacritic. And you know what? Of course, it's too bad, because you never want to see anybody getting laid off. You know, I don't think any of the individuals that were working on Redfall were responsible for the disaster that it ended up being, both for Microsoft and then also for players and gamers who paid for it. I mean, it was laughably bad when it came out. I think most of the blame lands, again, at the feet of the directors, at the feet of the producers and executives that were in charge of making sure that stuff didn't happen, and yet it did. And this is also reaffirmed for me, I think, that Pete Hines' retirement last year probably was a marking of the departure of the last advocate for recovering games like this. I mean, it was a pretty rare thing to see like Fallout 76 not be abandoned, and it was going to be very rare to see this game not be abandoned, because normally when a game launches horribly and has just a disastrous launch and everybody mocks it and is sick and tired of it, normally studios just move on. They just call it quits, especially with live service stuff. But in this instance, they said that they were planning on trying to give it another chance and let it have sort of its own recovery and comeback arc, which would have been cool to see. But I think once Pete Hines left, there was nobody in the upper echelons of Bethesda Softworks to fight for that. And so they just decided, you know what, it doesn't make sense to keep a Frankenstein's monster on life support when nobody wants it anyways. So, like, what are we doing? And
so we're going to leave it right here. If you want to watch the rest of the video again, it's going to be linked down below. We'll keep this one a little bit shorter. So for Mist Valley Entertainment News, this is why Redfall is officially dead, as Luke Stevens has pointed out. It's because Arcane Austin got shut down, along with three other Bethesda studios, Bethesda associated, Bethesda owned, Bethesda studios, even though people say they're not Bethesda, they're Bethesda. Because let's hammer on Bethesda, because even Microsoft realizes, although they're never going to tell you it, Bethesda sucks. We wasted our money. Let's try to recover what we can. So, my name is Dredd. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you all next time. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Have your voice down below. Just don't be an a-hole, and be respectful of others, and we're all good.